Well, some of the first videos of Mac Jones practicing for the Patriots are coming out right now, so I just wanted to add some commentary to that. We're hearing reports that some people are claiming he's kind of small looking, particularly mostly shorter. I really disagree. I know that he's not a 6'4" or 6'5" quarterback we're taking a look at here. He's not some massive Ben Roethlisberger or Cam Newton, just to name a few examples. But he is going to be sufficient. Okay, his size is not going to be an issue. If anything, it would be something else that is his problem. I don't think height is going to be an issue for him at all. And you'll see throughout this clip that he doesn't really seem super short. And this is the same practice that people were watching, or at least one person was watching when they said this. I forgot the name of the person who. We got guys like Russell Wilson that is just lighting up the league. He has been ever since he entered in his rookie year. I believe he played in his rookie year and just lit it up from the gates like right away. I think that was like 2012. And he's 5'11". He hasn't had any issues, obviously, with height. And then we got guys like Drew Brees as well that are exactly 6 foot. These people are multiple inches shorter than Mac Jones. So that's kind of my evidence that this is just not really going to be an issue. I love this picture, by the way, him next to Tom Brady. Tom Brady is literally towering over Drew Brees, and Tom Brady's listed at 6'4". What a beautiful photo of the families there. That is awesome. But yeah, I really don't feel like that's going to be an issue. So let's just talk about the positive. I wanted to get that out of the way as we're watching this clip here. First off, we've heard really great things as well. I wanted to mention a tweet that I saw here. This is just Kendrick Bourne on Mac Jones. Good energy, awesome guy. You can tell he's happy to be here. You can feel his leadership and energy already. He has a swag to him that I didn't really know he had. And this is just an example of kind of that chemistry between the teammates. This is really good news, guys. I really like to hear this. That he's already building chemistry there with some of the newer wide receivers coming in. This team is going to look a lot different, I think. A lot of these players that are new are building this chemistry, like I said. Very, very interesting stuff. Here's another one that I saw. I found this one really interesting. It seems like this practice was a lot more of like an introduction practice where they were just kind of trying to see if guys have gotten a hold of different looks and things like that. And Mac Jones was able to identify a Mike Blitz. Basically, a Mike Blitz is somebody other than a defensive lineman, so like a linebacker or a safety that is going to blitz on that play. He was able to identify the Mike and also tagged on a slide by the offensive line. So basically, he slid the offensive line to, I think, the right side, which is kind of a veteran move there, being able to move that line and just call an audible right there and change up the play a little bit to better suit the Mike Blitz coming in. So I love to hear that, obviously. That is great, great, great news. The tweet continues on, and this is some more of what we heard. Then Jones and the receiver, Nelson Aguilar in this case, both identified what the defense was doing. A weak side blitz. They looked at each other, and Aguilar pointed. Then Jones said, "I know," quote unquote. So what we're seeing there is, again, that connection with a different receiver this time, also a new receiver that's coming in. Apparently, Aguilar had a nice practice as well, by the way. But Jones said, "I know," so he was able to identify the same thing that we saw a very veteran player there in Aguilar noticing. So just, again, the maturity there in this player, in Mac Jones, just being able to identify these things is really just great news. I love to hear that. The ball was snapped. Jones probably didn't even have the laces and then fired the ball on the slant into a wide open space. And apparently, from what I've heard, this actually ended up being a very long touchdown as well. I don't know if they were doing 11 on 11 practices here or what it was, but still, regardless, it's just very awesome to hear. And to close things out, the tweet finishes by saying, Jones saw what the defense was going to do, and the receiver made a slight adjustment, and the Patriots exploited it for a big gain. So you can see the connection there. I don't know why it says the Patriots when they were obviously both the Patriots. I think that's like a little bit of a typo there. So that is all just very, very exciting stuff. I've also heard reports that Mac Jones had the best arm out of all of the quarterbacks that played. Again, there's 4 this year. So Cam Newton, Mac Jones, Jarrett Stidham, and then also Brian Hoyer, who we just brought in as well. So that even adds a little bit more fire to that competition there. Obviously, it's extremely overwhelmingly likely that it's going to be Cam Newton and Mac Jones at the top, and then Jarrett Stidham or Brian Hoyer as the third. There is the possibility that we keep 4 on. I don't know why they would do that, though. So it might be a competition between Jarrett Stidham and then Brian Hoyer, who gets to get that third roster spot, and then also between Mac Jones and Cam Newton for who gets the starting position. It's overwhelmingly likely that Cam Newton gets that spot just to begin the season, but there is that possibility that Mac Jones absolutely lights it up, and it's just, too tempting to start him to start the season, and they might actually end up doing that if things went absolutely perfect. But that's not seeming super likely just based on what's historically usually happened throughout the NFL with rookie quarterbacks there. I think the craziest part about his first practice was that catch. I mean, it was absolutely insane, but let's be realistic with ourselves. It was probably just mostly luck, and he probably would have dropped that had it ever happened again. Well, it's practice, so, they throw it pretty easy, so probably, like, all players are able to catch passes one-handed. Um, in all reality, Mac Jones has some hands. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this kid is catching one-handed passes like left and right. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Before I get started with the video, leave a like if you want me to keep making these practice videos about Mac Jones, because it's my second one. I can keep doing them as we get more information if you guys want me to do that, but I don't want to overwhelm you guys if this is not what you're looking for. Let me know in the comments what you want to see from this channel, and I'll be trying to bring that content that you guys want. So we're going to break it down video by video. First things first, Bill Belichick had this to say about Mac Jones as of yesterday.
I think Max, he has a pretty good understanding of, the things that we do. And then, he has to go out there and do them and get comfortable with them. So, he's working hard. He's puts in a lot of time and certainly, given his very best effort to do everything we've asked him to do and do it the way that we've asked him to do it, which is a great place to start. And, he's earned a lot of respect for that. I mean, he's got a long way to go. We'll see how it goes.
Definitely leaves a lot more questions than answers, if you ask me. I really feel like I got zero information from that whatsoever. Typical Bill Belichick. I didn't really expect to get any solid answers there whatsoever, but really I'm left, more confused than I began, and I really don't know much of anything. I've never heard somebody say so many words, but give so little information. It's completely crazy. The first clip we're going to look at here is the pass to Cam Newton here from Mac Jones, and he drops the one-handed catch, whatever. But I like the throw here. It's a really solid throw. Just enough touch to it and not too much of a bullet. We've seen him absolutely just sling it, but he holds back a little bit here and makes it a more catchable pass there for sure. This one's really cool, actually, because it's to our brand new wide receiver that we just signed to practice with, Marvin Hall. And this one's going to be for Mac Jones. Obviously, that's who we're talking about in this video. And I mean, it's a pretty good pass. I think this is worth noting here, this one. I mean, he puts it right where it needs to be there, and keeps the wide receiver in motion, running forward momentum. That's huge, because if you throw it behind the wide receiver, obviously that's an issue because they have to slow down for it. The defensive back might be able to catch up. So to see him leading that receiver that way is actually really, really what you want to see. And in this drill, this was actually him and then also Josh McDaniels and then another coach who I don't really recognize right now, trying to like simulate running pressure at him there, and you can see he just gets right past it and makes the throw. I don't know why they were doing this exercise, but I think it was cool to see his footwork here if pressure was heading his way. And then finally, my favorite clip of them all actually is a pass to J.J. Taylor here, and he absolutely just puts so much touch on this pass. I love this deep ball to the corner. Look at that. I mean, you can hardly see in the corner there, but he put it right where it has to be. Pass to a running back there, J.J. Taylor. If you don't remember J.J. Taylor, he actually showed a lot of promise last season, but I think he got injured towards the beginning of the season. So I'm very excited to see what he has this season up his sleeve as well. Excited to see him play, but what a pass by Mac Jones to the corner of the end zone. Just so much touch on that pass. Doesn't just sling it. He puts it just an arching pass. Really, really cool to see that from him there. That's all I have to say in this video, guys, about Mac Jones. There was a lot of people coming out saying that Mac Jones had a bad practice or, something like that. He had like one almost interception, I guess, is what I've heard. And apparently it was a miscommunication between him and the wide receiver. So it wasn't like he just had a bad read. He just kind of miscommunicated a little bit, and it was a dropped interception anyway. I mean, that's going to happen in practice. He's not going to have a perfect off season of practice with no incompletions or interceptions. But a lot of people were trying to say he had a bad practice. But from what I just saw, all the clips I just showed you, it looks like he had a very promising practice, actually. A lot of things to be happy about and look forward to. especially that deep pass was a really, really good pass for sure. And there was many other passes that I didn't include in this video that also looked really great as well. Apparently, also, it's worth mentioning he did have a sleeve, I think, on his ankle, so there was something kind of like aggravating him in his ankle a little bit. So that's going to obviously need to be paid attention to hear that happening. And then Cam Newton also injured his hand, so we had two of our top two quarterbacks struggling with some sort of injuries there, very, very minor injuries. Kind of unfortunate, obviously, to have the top two quarterbacks get injured around the same time. But it seems like Mac Jones, especially, was fine, and he was still at the practice. And Cam Newton actually ended up sitting out, I think, like the back half of the practice after his hand got a little bit injured. So we're going to await further news on that. Obviously, there is some implications with that, but I think they will both be 100%, by the time of reaching training camp and obviously preseason and the regular season and everything. These won't be major injuries whatsoever. I'm not expecting at all. I have devastating news, though. First off, it's really heartbreaking, and I can't believe I'm telling you guys this. It's going to be tough here. Mac Jones didn't have any one-handed catches this practice. So honestly, I don't know how good he is. I don't know if Mac Jones is going to make the roster anymore. Obviously, kidding aside, we're going to be talking about Mac Jones today. He didn't have a one-handed catch, but that's okay because he's a quarterback. So it was fun while it lasted, but he broke his streak of one-handed catches. To me, it seems like overall, before we get into it, Mac Jones did have a good practice. It was completely solid, and we saw a lot of interesting things. First off, they had him passing the tight ends a lot. That's the first observation I made. I have not seen any videos of him throwing to a running back or a wide receiver during this practice. This makes sense to me because, first off, we're more talented at the tight end position than the wide receiver position and probably than the running back position as well. So this is going to be our most valuable weapon for the quarterbacks to be throwing to. So they had him really working with these tight ends in this practice. There's a lot of cool things to go over. So let's just take a look at a clip here. And this is going to be him throwing to Hunter Henry. I really like this play because he just led the tight end, Hunter Henry, first off, probably our starting tight end. So that's really cool to see as well. But he led him and he placed that ball right where Hunter Henry's able to take advantage of his height and just grab that ball at the highest point. So this was actually one of the best passes I saw from the practice from Mac Jones. And if there was a middle linebacker in man coverage and he just threw this over the top like this would likely be a catch. That would be a great pass in an actual game situation. So I love this play that we just watched there. Now, another thing is Mac Jones has a nickname here. Let's hear him say it. He has a new nickname from Cam Newton.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, he calls me Mac and Cheese, so I got my nickname.
Now, I definitely like Big Mac and Mac Attack a lot more than Mac and Cheese. Mac and Cheese, literally no pun intended, is a little cheesy there. This clip is literally just Mac Jones throwing, and you get no idea of where he's throwing it at all. You just get to see the throwing motion. This was a pretty nice touch pass, and I like to see the great form there from him. It looks like they're really, really working on the footwork and just the throwing motion entirely. So that's really good to see him working on that. And from what I've heard, he's been able to make quick corrections whenever he makes mistakes and really just learn quickly. Here's an example, actually, and this is an example of Mac Jones being pretty tough on himself, as you can see. He's going to throw the ball here to Devin Asiasi, and it's pretty low. And you hear him get a little frustrated with himself, and then he corrects it, and it's a pretty similar throw here the second time around to that first throw we saw to Hunter Henry, where he just places it perfectly to the tight end here at a higher point where only the tight end can get it. This time it was to Hunter Henry. I think that might even be the same play, actually, but he definitely does correct that ball placement. You can see he gets frustrated with himself, and that doesn't cause him to fail and lose confidence. That actually causes him to kind of get tough on himself and correct that very quickly. That is a quality that we want in a quarterback. That is a quality that Tom Brady had, where he doesn't fall apart in these situations. He actually comes back better. And early signs are showing us that Mac Jones could have some of those qualities. Obviously, it's just practice, but to see him correct those mistakes really quickly after he gets frustrated with himself is definitely a promising thing. Now, I want you guys to smash the like button if you guys want more practice videos, because I can keep bringing these every single time we get footage of Mac Jones or any players at practice. So smash the like button. Let me know in the comments what you guys want to see from this channel down below. Let's continue with the video, though. It's not over yet, even though it just sounded like it might be. Here is a clip. I love this clip because this is Mac Jones in what looks like Josh McDaniels' having just a laugh here. They're having a good time talking, and it looks like they're building some chemistry there. Mac Jones and his offensive coordinator. It's great to see them just laughing and having a good time. It looks like they're building a great relationship there, which is obviously a positive thing to see them getting along great. And then Mac Jones comes out and makes a throw right after that. Good form, looking good. And it looks like he's working on that form in this clip as well. And then him and Josh McDaniels come back together. Still looks like they're having a great time. Love to see it there. Now, this is a longer clip, but this is going to show us some curl routes here from the tight ends. Again, he was working with the tight ends all day, it seems like. This first one here comes in a little bit late, in my opinion. You want to hit them right when they're turning around, is the idea at least. But you can see, once you keep watching this, what's going to happen is Josh McDaniels comes over and talks to him, and they actually get a lot earlier as time goes on with these. So I think there's like 4 curl routes here. And the second one, the receiver actually drops it, unfortunately. But that's okay because we're focused on Mac Jones anyway here. But with the third and fourth one, you can see he's hitting him a lot earlier, which is the idea. You want to hit him right as he's turning around so that the defender doesn't even have time to move towards the ball. And you would only throw this if the defender has enough distance for this to be a completion. But he gets better and better at that. So the biggest observation I've made is that Mac Jones learns quickly. He seems to correct those mistakes very, very swiftly and get past things easily. And then he's able to move on, which is great. That's obviously one of the bigger praises that we heard when we first drafted him. He's going to learn the system quick. He's going to be good mentally. Physically, he's not the most talented out of the whole group, but mentally, he is probably the best out of all of them and the most NFL ready potentially even as well, just because of how much he learned and his ability to learn quickly. That's it for this video, guys. I love making these Mac Jones videos because I'm excited too. I know you guys are very excited because thousands of you are watching these Mac Jones videos, even, tens of thousands. So I know a lot of you are excited, but I am very excited as well. So I love making these. Now, to sum up the practice, and I'm going to show you guys tweets towards the end of this video. Basically, it was very rainy. The weather was terrible, and we had 4 quarterbacks, obviously. Brian Hoyer, Jarrett Stidham, Mac Jones, and Cam Newton. And basically what we've been hearing and what I've visually seen, and I'm going to show you, is that all of the quarterbacks struggled because of this, except for Mac Jones. All of them were inaccurate because of this, except for Mac Jones. So we're just going to go through this. Now, this first clip I have for you is one that actually went viral, actually. So this was like the first one of Mac Jones that really, really went viral on Twitter. And you can see them walking out, Cam Newton, Mac Jones. They're about to go head-to-head in an accuracy drill. And what I want you guys to do is tell me which one you think is more accurate here. But it's clearly Mac Jones. There they go head-to-head on the first clip. The second clip, you can see that Mac Jones places the ball perfectly. Then Cam Newton basically misses his receiver. Short pass, totally over the head. This was the issues he had last year, and it seems like they are returning this year. Mac Jones goes for the same throw, and it's perfectly accurate. I mean, you cannot ask for a better ball placement than that. Cam Newton goes to the left this time, way overthrows the receiver, even worse than the first one. Mac Jones comes in, places the pass perfectly. I can't emphasize that enough. So after that clip, it is evident that I think there will at least be a chance that Mac Jones beats out Cam Newton for the starting job. I really feel there is no doubt in my mind that Mac Jones is the more accurate passer of the two and the better passer of the two already. So here's a more zoomed in look at what we basically just watched. And once you watch this, I mean, it becomes so clear. So first off, Cam Newton passes it way over the head of the receiver. Mac Jones does the same exact throw. And watch this. Right on the money. I mean, that's right over the defender if that's in a game. Cam Newton to the left, way, way, way over the receiver. Then Mac Jones comes in, does the same exact throw, and it is on the money again. So that is the 2 plays that basically they both ran, and it's night and day. This competition is getting really, really juicy, guys, and I can't wait to see what happens. I feel like this is the best we've seen from Mac Jones and the worst we've seen from Cam Newton. And at this point, I think it has to be that Mac Jones has the upper hand in practices. The team has to know that he's a better passer. I wouldn't be surprised if Cam Newton still starts from the get-go just so that they can basically give Mac Jones the best opportunity to develop as a player. Even if he is the better passer, I still feel like there's a chance they don't let him start regardless. Here is my favorite play probably. By the way, that clip I just showed you before has 1 million views on Twitter. So this is something that is turning heads around the league. This is not just something that I'm talking about. This has been a very popular topic over the past 24 hours. But this play I'm showing you here is a great throw by Mac Jones and a great catch by Jacoby Myers. The placement couldn't be any better, and there's no way a defender could defend that. I mean, a defender could be playing on Jacoby Myers like Velcro, and if Mac Jones makes that throw right there, there's nothing they can do about it. It's a touchdown every time, and that is exactly what you want to see from your quarterback, making plays that are undefendable. Now, to name a few tweets, I'm just gonna walk you through these. Mike Reese here. At a rainy Patriots practice, one of the things I watched was quarterbacks and how they handled it. I am not a scout, but took note that Mac Jones seemed to mostly show command in that area, whereas the other quarterbacks had some balls sail on them. Plenty of inclement weather when playing in New England. So this is just an example of the fact that Mac Jones handled the weather and just the problems really great. Our next tweet is from a guy named Doug. I don't know how to say your last name. Sorry about that. Patriots QB stats day 1 of minicamp. Cam Newton was 12 of 20 with 1 drop. Mac Jones was 13 of 20 with 2 drops, so he would have basically been 15 of 20 if they hadn't had those drops. Newton would have been 13 of 20 without the drops. Stidham was 8 of 15, so he was pretty good, but he had 3 drops, so this would have been 11 out of 15. So Stidham continues to be a good passer as well, in my opinion. And then Hoyer was 2 of 6 with an interception and then 1 drop. I think, honestly, just to rank all of this, I think Jones would be the best quarterback here. Stidham is number 2, and Newton is maybe number 3. Hoyer clearly the outlier there. I think the reason we have Hoyer is to develop these young quarterbacks and to give them a quarterback that knows the system to help. I think that's the only reason Hoyer is here. Here is something I heard, and this is I think it was a tweet, and I don't know who it's by at all, but on his first rep of 11 on 11 work, Jones took a shotgun snap and in almost one fluid motion uncorked a long ball for Jacoby Myers down the left sideline. Myers was matched against free agent arrival Jalen Mills, who had him blanketed aside from one small window. Myers' back shoulder, and it was there Jones dropped the pass as Myers turned, made the catch, and sent the unmistakable message. This is probably the best story I'm hearing from the minicamp so far that happened yesterday. By the way, there's going to be more clips coming out today and tomorrow. I'm going to be uploading the videos the day after for each of those. So tomorrow I will be covering today's minicamp, and tomorrow's minicamp will be covered the next day. I know it's confusing. Also, I'm going to make a video about Stephon Gilmore holding out and other topics as well. But this right here gives me hope. That gives me hope. Be sure to destroy the like button if you want me to make more Mac Jones practice videos. It helps the channel out tremendously when you like and comment down below, so be sure to do those 2 things. Mac Jones had a super solid practice, guys. Super accurate. Maybe the most accurate practice I've seen out of all the film that I watched. Just watch the way he runs onto the field. After his practice on the 14th, that was his best of so far his Patriots career. It looks like he is feeling very confident running onto the field here. I'll tell you this much, he definitely has a pep to his step walking onto his 5th practice as a Patriot where the media was allowed to cover it. Now, a few practices ago, it seemed like they only had him throwing to the tight ends like all day, and it was the same story in yesterday's practice. Every single throw here is to a tight end, you'll notice that. Now, this first one is a throw to Hunter Henry. And I love this pass because a lot of people in my previous video were talking about, oh, he doesn't have any power. He only lobs the ball. But as you can see, he's able to really put some velocity on this one. So he can do it all. He tends to lob it when he doesn't have to throw a laser. So if like a dude is wide open in the side of the end zone and there's not a defender around, throw him a soft pass. You don't have to throw him a bullet. That's how you get your receiver to accidentally drop a pass in the end zone. So he's very situational with how hard he's throwing the ball, and he is capable of throwing some lasers, but he's also capable of putting a really, really nice touch pass in there as well. He has a very good palette of different throws. This next clip has multiple throws in it, so I'm just going to walk you through it. Now, this first throw, as you can see, is a great example of one of those more touch passes that I was mentioning. Look at how soft this throw is, and it makes it easy for Matt Lacoste to catch that one there. The next one is a bullet to Hunter Henry again. So this one's a lot faster, as you can see. Again, just that variety there. The third one comes in, and this is to Matt Lacoste again. Another bullet type, high velocity throw. And then finally, a throw here to Devin Asiasi into the end zone, which was more of a bullet as well. So this is a great clip that just shows the different throws he can make. We had one more of a lob, softer touch pass, which would be a great throw for a wide open wide receiver because you want your receiver to be able to catch it. They drop those bullets sometimes. We see NFL caliber, we see great wide receivers drop bullet passes sometimes when it's just too hard. Obviously, 9 times out of 10 they do catch it, but if you throw a lob pass to a wide receiver, it's very, very rare for them to drop that catch as long as it's, right there and there's no defender, which that does happen. That is a situation that does occur in the NFL and at the college level, obviously. So Mac Jones is very, very familiar with making that type of throw, and he has a wide palette of these different throws. We see some quarterbacks that can only just throw it with 100% force, and they don't know any other way to throw it. And I think also these lob passes are great in deep ball situations. You don't have to fling it down the field. You can throw a nice high arching throw here, and that is what Mac Jones is really, really great at. And he also can throw a nice bullet as well, but especially the lob pass is just, and the touch pass is just a great skill set that he has. And we have one final throw here from Mac Jones here, and this was a touchdown to Hunter Henry. This was a great example, again, of a bullet pass, and you can see he throws this one kind of low, which is another pass that would actually be good in certain situations. Sometimes passing it this low can be a little safer than throwing it higher because the defender isn't really looking, so he's not going to be able to kind of bend down to go get it. But if the wide receiver's watching, he will have adequate time to go ahead and lower his body to catch that low pass. That is a situational pass, and I'm sure it was intentional in this case. So a really, really good pass there as well. Again, every single pass today was to tight ends. You probably noticed that as well. So very interesting. We haven't really seen him through. I've maybe seen like 1 or 2 passes to wide receivers and then 1 pass to a running back, and then the rest were tight ends. So I'm expecting this season to be a tight end heavy season, and that's not really surprising. We have Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. When you bring those 2 guys on, it's clear you want to get your tight end game on point. I mean, that is the goal. I'm sure that's what they had in mind when they went ahead and got those guys. This last and final clip I'm just going to let you listen to. I absolutely love this. This was actually at a press conference with Cam Newton, and the words he says here is just so wise about Mac Jones, and he talks about drafting him and how that affects the way he's going to play this upcoming season and how he will have a chip on his shoulder. So here it is. Give it a listen.
Absolutely not. It didn't make me feel any type of way because he was the right pick, you know what I'm saying, in my opinion. And, he was the best player available, and that's what the NFL draft is for. As far as, having any chip on the shoulder, you're stating the obvious. I don't need too much to get myself going, let alone, that happening. And it's no disrespect to Mac. It's no disrespect to, Bill and his decision. I support it 110% because you still have to do what's right for the organization for the long haul. So, like I said, I will reiterate, it's like we all have to make each other better. And it starts with ourselves and holding ourselves to a daily standard. And, Josh said it best, this off season is about getting back to a championship standard. And from meeting time to when you check in, when you clock out, understanding what you're supposed to do on top of the other 10 people that you're out there with, and just putting everybody at ease. So, no matter who's out there, we're going to push each other to get better. And that's what we're expected to do.
Now, I absolutely love everything that Cam Newton said here. This is exactly what you want to hear from your more veteran quarterback on the team. He supports the decision. He understands why it happened. He's not going to be butthurt about it, and if anything, he's going to use it to motivate himself. Yesterday, I made a comment in my video that a lot of people were like, what in the world? I said, I think Mac Jones could be trying to be the starter this year. He could be trying to compete for that job. And a lot of people were like, what in the world? A lot of people were saying that would not be good and that Cam Newton needs to start and that would actually be better for Mac Jones. And I 100% agree. So I made that comment that I think Mac Jones could be getting ready to potentially try to go for the starting role this season because he's competitive, and that's what he's going to do. If a guy isn't trying to compete for the starting job, you've got problems. So I'm glad to see he's competing for that position. But what would be best, because at the end of the day, I'm a Patriots fan, and if Cam Newton is the starter, and if Mac Jones never pans out, which I don't think that'll happen, but if that is the case, I'm still a Patriots fan. That is what it is. I'm cheering for the Patriots more than I'm cheering for Mac Jones. So if Mac Jones is going to come in and stink up the joint, I don't want that to happen. I want the Patriots to do good. So at the end of the day, I think what would be best for Mac Jones and what would be best for the Patriots is if Cam Newton comes out and plays amazing. Because if we can get a good season with Cam Newton, that's going to give Mac Jones time to learn. If there's a situation where Cam Newton absolutely sucks and Mac Jones has to come in, you don't want that to happen. We want Mac Jones to come in because he's actually ready for that position and he's competed and he's beat out a good quarterback for the starting position. We don't want Mac Jones to come in because we need him to potentially try to win some games this season. That would be the absolute worst thing that could happen for Mac Jones and the worst thing that could happen for this organization this season. We want great quarterback play from Cam Newton, and we want him to be able to be a starting caliber quarterback this year and give us a competitive quarterback play. And if he doesn't, we want Stidham to be able to come in and give us good quarterback play. Whatever keeps Mac Jones in a position where he comes in when he's ready to come in and not when we need him to come in is what is best for this team and what is best for Mac Jones. So let that be clear. Don't get it mixed up. That is how I feel about this season and how I feel about Mac Jones. Let me know if you guys agree, but that is where my standpoint is. I'm a Patriots fan, not a Mac Jones fan, 100%. I'm just going to read off a few tweets here to close out the video. Andrew Callahan tweeted, Patriots minicamp day 2, because obviously this is the second day we're talking about of mandatory minicamp. Mac Jones was definitely the best quarterback for a second day, albeit he finished poorly. Newton was 10 of 17 and threw 1 interception. Jones was 17 of 25. Notice he got the most reps, so that's very interesting. But he threw 2 interceptions. So let me clarify this. We see down below, Stidham was 5 of 8, which is pretty good. He just got the least amount of reps. Dante Hightower high-pointed an interception in team drills. Defense went nuts. Shaq Mason and Jonnu Smith sat out. Jonnu Smith is dealing with a hamstring thing. I think we've already talked about that. Maybe not. But Mike Reese, I think that's how you say his name. I've never had to say it until I started making these videos. He kind of clarified the 2 interceptions here for Mac Jones. So Mac Jones was intercepted by Dante Hightower in 11-on-11 drills as he attempted to arc a short touch pass over him. So this seems like it was a super athletic play by Dante Hightower the more I've listened to this and heard things about it. And really, it could have easily been a great pass. It's just Dante Hightower made a great play. So we kind of blame Mac Jones for one like that. But at the same time, it is just practice. You kind of do take more risks. You're not, whatever. The second one totally wasn't Mac Jones' fault because it was tipped at the line of scrimmage. So this is just, you can cross that one off the list. Kyle Van Noy went ahead and got that one. So good to see him coming back and getting an interception. Also, some cool news. We see that one of my favorite players, Kyle Duggar, had an interception off of Cam Newton. That one seems like it was more of a, not his fault type situation as well. But it was cool to see Kyle Duggar getting involved, getting an interception because he has not had a career interception yet. So that's very exciting to hear about Kyle Duggar. It seems like the defense played absolutely great, and there's nothing that could be better for our quarterbacks, especially the young ones, than playing against an excellent defense in practice. Because if you're playing against the best and you can get good at playing against them, you're going to have an easier time against these other defenses in the NFL, where the Patriots are likely a top 5 defense. My reasoning for thinking that is last season they were a top 8. They were the 8th ranked defense. We've had so many notable opt-outs return this season from last season, and also we've brought in a ton of free agency talent on the defense as well. These two things combined lead me to believe that we will be the 8th or better defense in the NFL. I think top 5 is a good likelihood, and if they're not a top 5 defense, I think it's an underperformance based on the money we spent, based on the talent we have, and that would be a bad situation. We would need to kind of look to the coaches as to why the defense didn't play good. The amount of talent, barring injury, should be easily a top 5 defense. That being said, the quarterbacks are playing against a great defense. They should be getting great practice. 2 interceptions by Mac Jones is not ideal, but we had some other players. Just to name a few examples that I've seen, Patrick Mahomes threw 5 interceptions in one practice in his rookie season. So this happens to great players. This happens to bad players. This happens to all players. So it's not necessarily a big deal. Now, if he starts consistently doing this, that might be reason for concern. But just to see this happen in one day isn't too big of a deal. This first clip is literally the first clip from yesterday's minicamp day, and it's actually a video of Mac Jones walking up to minicamp because he was the first player on the field, and this story actually was pretty popular, just seeing him walk up and be the first player on the field. The second video is actually a video of him just throwing the ball around here, getting some practice in. This is before anybody was there. So really cool to see him eager to get out there and practice and be better and work hard. He's basically out there with a bunch of staff. So really, really good to see that eagerness from him. Now, this first pass we're actually going to take a look at here is one to fellow rookie Ramondre Stevenson. And this one is really cool because we're obviously also excited about Ramondre Stevenson. And he's probably a top 3 rookie that I've heard the most about, that people are very excited for. Apparently, throughout minicamp, Ramondre Stevenson has shown very soft hands and the ability to catch passes as a running back, which is super valuable. And it's actually very interesting for his type of running back to be able to do that. He is more of a bruiser running back that's also pretty fast. So he's kind of got the best of both worlds. But now we're learning he can catch, which usually is something that for some reason most shifty, very small running backs are good at. Usually those larger, more bruising running backs aren't quite as good at catching. They're more focused on just getting the ball straight up the middle. But Ramondre Stevenson has shown some pretty exceptional catching ability as well, which is also just another bonus for him. Not to mention about this play, it's just a great throw by Mac Jones, right where it needs to be. And I guarantee you, no matter what the situation is, this is pretty much a touchdown in a real game. If he throws this type of throw right there to the back of the end zone, perfect placement, accuracy is out of control. That's basically the theme of this practice for Mac Jones. Accuracy was on point. There was some critiques. I'm going to go over that later on. This wasn't his best practice day he's had of the entire Patriots offseason, but he hasn't really had a bad practice yet. There has not been a single bad practice. Every single one has shown a lot of promise. Now, this next play right here that we're watching, we get kind of a throw where we don't really get to see where it goes, but we get to see the motion. But the second throw here, we do get to see where it goes. It goes to Damian Harris here in the back of the end zone. So let's just watch this one. I love this throw as well. I mean, super accurate. Again, just right where it needs to be. He leads the receiver there. In this case, it's a running back, Damian Harris, who also shows really good catching ability as well. So really, really cool to see that throwing to the running backs today. Yesterday it was all tight ends. Today it seems like it was mostly a lot of running backs. We did see a couple to wide receivers and a couple to tight ends. We got to see so many more clips from yesterday as compared to any other practice so far this season. It seems like the most media coverage was yesterday. So we have a lot to go over. Now, this next clip right here is just a video of Mac Jones and Cam Newton throwing it. I wanted to mention Cam Newton also had an amazing practice. You know, a lot of people claim that I'm biased towards Mac Jones because I'm only making Mac Jones videos, but I'm here and I'm ready to recognize when Cam Newton has a really, really good day, and it is in the best interest of Mac Jones and the team for Cam Newton to play really well. I mentioned that yesterday. The more we see Cam Newton play good and able to start, the more time that's going to give Mac Jones to develop. We want him to come in when he's absolutely ready to start and not when we need him to come in and help us, basically. There was one more thing about Cam Newton I wanted to address other than the fact that he had a great practice, and I'm super excited about that. I'm very happy because I want Cam Newton to play good, and I want Cam Newton to start as long as possible to give Mac Jones more time. A lot of people are complaining that more people were excited when Mac Jones was playing good in practice than people are excited now that Cam Newton's playing good in practice. And that is true, and I have a simple explanation for that. I would even go as far as saying, as me alongside a majority of Patriots fans would prefer Mac Jones to play better than Cam Newton and be better than Cam Newton. And you might be thinking, what in the world, what does that mean? Mac Jones is a rookie that is 21 years old that we just spent a first-round pick on. Of course I'd prefer him to be better. We will have like 10 or 15 years of great quarterback play if he's a great quarterback. If Cam Newton's great, that's good, especially the short term. We want Mac Jones to have time. We want great quarterback play without Mac Jones having to come save us. However, Cam Newton's 32. I'm not going to be as excited about that as I am going to be about a 22-year-old quarterback that has 15 or 20 years ahead of him. That's the simple explanation, and I hope that makes sense. A lot of people were complaining that more people are excited or want Mac Jones to be better, and it makes sense. Of course they do. All right, let's move on. Here's another throw. This one's to Nelson Aguilar, and I love this throw. Corner of the end zone. Look at how high he throws it, right where the receiver can just elevate to get that. That's a great throw to Nelson Aguilar there, and that's one of the first examples we've actually seen of him throwing to a wide receiver, which is so weird, but that is one of the first ones, maybe the second one out of all of the this is the sixth video. This is the sixth practice I'm making, and I think this is the second throw to a wide receiver I've seen from him. Here's a throw. This one's good too. This is to James White, who's obviously going to be a big part of the passing game. This one's just a simple throw, out route, really good accuracy here on the spot. Nothing particularly impressive about this. That's just a simple throw, but definitely not a bad one either. You could easily make that a bad throw, but he definitely pulled that off. Now, this one is going to be to Hunter Henry, obviously going to be a big part of the offense as well. And again, just another accurate example of a pass. He throws it right where it needs to be, where the tight end here can put his hands up. It's just above his head, perfect location. If there's a smaller defender right there, that's probably a catch. And if there's no defender around, that's also a good throw because it's an easy catchable pass for the tight end there. Now, finally, we have one more throw here, and this one's another one to James White. I'm pretty sure this is a different throw, but it could possibly be the same one as we saw a couple minutes ago. But I'm going to treat it as if it's a different one here. As you can see, it's just an out route again to James White, and that's right on the money, right where it needs to be. James White hardly has to slow down. I don't even think he changes momentum there at all, and he throws it a little high, which is going to be better than throwing it, off kilter a little bit. So I think that was a great throw there by Mac Jones. So this is probably like the 6th consecutive practice where we haven't had any video examples of Mac Jones throwing bad. There is some people, especially on Twitter, that still continue to criticize Mac Jones every single week, trying to point out weird flaws. Like, again, we focused on in the very beginning of all the camps and stuff on how people were saying Mac Jones is too small, and that just absolutely is not the case. I have no idea where this stupid stuff is coming from, but people said, oh, he looks too small, when there's probably like 15 starting NFL quarterbacks that are his size or smaller. Absolutely makes no sense. People say he's unathletic. He's literally in the top 50th percentile in the 40-yard dash of quarterbacks in the NFL. He's literally faster than Patrick Mahomes. He's faster than so many first-round quarterbacks from the previous 5 years. It makes no sense. Mac Jones, in my opinion, is playing as great as a rookie quarterback could possibly ever do in the Patriots camp here to begin things out. I have seen nothing but promise, especially when it comes to accuracy, maturity, and also just effort. So I have nothing but positives to say. There was an interception that we're going to go over in a little bit, but we're going to look at all the tweets first off. So this one's from a guy named Mark Daniels, and it says, in 7 versus 7s, Patriots had one period with the offense on the 10-yard line. Mac Jones' first rep was a beauty. He threaded the ball between Justin Bethel and Devin McCourty to hit Christian Welkerson for a touchdown. Jones should have had a touchdown on the next play, but it was dropped. So we saw some promise there with the defense on the field, pressuring him and defending the wide receivers as well in coverage. So we saw multiple reasons why this was a tougher practice drill, and it seems like Mac Jones had back-to-back really positive plays given that circumstance, because a lot of people were concerned, hey, a lot of these clips aren't showing any defenders, and that is true, but that doesn't really determine accuracy. To see the accuracy on a pass with no defenders is still a promising thing, because there's plenty of quarterbacks that are inaccurate in those types of situations still. With no pressure, no defender, still inaccurate. So to see him still extremely accurate in this situation is still a plus. People act like it counts for nothing, but it is a very good thing. Mac Jones said that he knows he'll have some good days and some bad days, but that he will keep working through it all. Today, he showed the most visible frustration media members have seen after throwing a pick to defensive back D. Virgin. He wound up and nearly punched the ground after. So I honestly would prefer to see this frustration rather than kind of just like giving up, putting his head down, and not really reacting. We've seen some quarterbacks that have not been very good, when they were very young, throw interceptions and not really get angry. They don't show too much emotion towards it. But it seems like Mac Jones, it does motivate him a little bit, which is obviously the best scenario. You want that to motivate him. Offensive tackle Trent Brown, who I love, by the way, on quarterback Mac Jones said, quote unquote, he's a young guy, but you can't really just refer to him as a young guy. You can tell he's been at a place where he's got some coaching, and I think he's going to be special in the future. Obviously, very positive to hear fellow teammates talking highly of him, but it's easy to see why they would think that. Great accuracy, great maturity, great effort, great poise, everything. To this point, we have a small sample size, but I would say that mostly we've come away with very, very good samples, even though it's a small sample size. What really is going to tell the full story is training camp and then eventually preseason, which I'm so excited for. And then really, I hope he does not touch the field after after preseason. I really hope he just stays on the bench the whole season, maybe comes in a few situations, but really I'd prefer him to just not even touch the field. I would prefer Cam Newton to have a great season. We have a good season as a team. We play great, but Mac Jones gets to just sit back, learn, relax, and just really get to know the NFL before he comes in. I would love to have more of a Patrick Mahomes type situation where he really flew under the radar and then obviously came in and played lights out in his basically sophomore season with the Kansas City Chiefs. I would love for something like that to happen. Obviously, a different type of player, different level probably of play, but just similar situation is what I'm hoping for there. Rather than having a quarterback situation like a franchise like the Browns or the Jets would pull off where they start their quarterback in the rookie season. Basically, it's like teaching your kid how to swim by throwing them in the lake. And I would prefer us to basically give Mac Jones swimming lessons before he gets thrown in.